Hello everyone and welcome back to the OGA Pit Studio here in Split for the Minor. While the build up to the Minor, I am Captain Fluke. I am joined once again by the lovely Demo, and we're here for the final quarterfinals across the entire board and the last play day of EE before we hit those semi-finals.
Nearly there. Nearly done.
Nearly there.
Everything's coming together now. It's starting to really shape up, and this is our last play day in terms of the quarterfinals. We've done NA, we've done LATAM, we know who's going to be playing those semi-finals, but we still have to see how EU is going to take shape. And well, for EU, Fluke, I feel as if it's been very predictable. Everything across the board, clean 2-0s.
I think it's the thing about it as well. You kind of look at this and you compare it to the regions that we've seen from the others, and there's been upsets, there's kind of been those moves, but in EU, everything has kind of been bat for bat, par for the course. The one surprise that might have kind of taken a few people is how close the BDS game and the Forza game were in the opening kind of rounds, and obviously Secret got the bye because SSG pulled out, but that's them before they've played their promotion games. They're now in Pro League. They have nothing else that they really need to hide. They can go all out, and, well, if there's a day to do it, it's today. Forza vs Vitality, the last game of today, but Penta vs BDS is going to be the opener, and I guess we'll see our first taste of Secret against Chaos.
Yeah, we never got to see Secret so far in this tournament, and, you know, we'll dive into Secret whenever we get there. There's a big history, of course, between Chaos versus Secret, if you're just playing Pro League, and everything kind of, that whole side of the story thing kind of happened. But we look forward to seeing BDS versus Penta, and that's another story on its own. One team which is flying as high as a kite, and one team which has kind of hit rock bottom. Yeah,
if you're not aware of how Penta's past 3 days have gone, well, they've been 2-0'd every single day, unfortunately. Twice in the French League over the past 2 days, casted by Hap and Cthulhu out in the French League, and one of those was against Vitality, obviously we're seeing later today, and one of them was against Izzy Dream, and it was big losses as well. And then obviously 2 days before that, or a day before the 2 days, if I'm getting my crazy calendar in my mind right, it was Forza. Forza took them to Border, took them to Bank, and, well, took them out of Pro League very efficiently. So we'll jump into the map bans and we'll see where Penta want to play. In the meantime, as you said, BDS, well, they're flying a little bit high. They obviously, as we said, it was a bit shaky the first game, shakier than we expected, and there is their usual removal of Villa, wasting no time. And I'm going to assume, I mean, Penta, they usually ban Consulate, and, well, there it goes. They're both playing par for the course, but BDS, you know, if this game is expected to go their way, based on just entirely recent performances.
Last time Penta won a match, it was against Sisu back and played in number 12 Pro League, and that was in Clubhouse. I could see Clubhouse being picked up. I can expect that. I know BDS, that's one of their kind of favourite ones as well. They went straight off the rip for a border pick. Oh boy.
Well, their border last time in this was an 8-7 against the MKers, so I mean, it was closer than I think everyone expected, but at the same time, Forza took Penta to Border and beat them 7-1 the other day. Izzy Dream took them to Border and beat them 7-2. Border's not a great map for Penta right now. Club is where they're going to go, and again, if you look at kind of recent scorelines, it was 7-4 to BDS when they took MKers here, and then 1-7 they got beat by Izzy Dream yesterday, Penta, so you've got to have a little bit of hope to wake up the next day and go, well, this is the right time to take BDS here.
It was expected, I think, for the Clubhouse. It's kind of statistically has been Penta's one of their strongest maps. I was going to also say that Cafe has been another one that they've kind of been fond of, and that will be the decider, because Bank was banned out by BDS, which again is a little bit surprising as well, especially over fours. They beat Penta on Bank as well in the relegations, 7 rounds to 3. But I think overall, that probably fares better for BDS, that entire map pool. The fact that they get Border straight off the rip will really set the tone, and if they like speedrun it, as what we're kind of expecting BDS to do with the prowess and the skills that they have, and the overall gun skill has been amazing. You look at players like Shaiko, the Destroyer of Hopes and Dreams, who has, oh my word, look, some of the stuff he's done, it's not good, is it?
The one thing to also keep in mind is whoever wins this does have to go against G2. That's the one match to beat them to then get to the LAN itself, but let's see who's ready to try and find those giants as we head our way into the first map of Border. Now, as we said, this was a little bit touch and go for BDS last time, but they were, you know, if there was a time when they were going to be holding and withholding strategies, it would have been that game. Because, you know, a couple of days later, they had their playoffs to get into Pro League. They were against a team that was one of the Open Qualifiers team, one of the, you know, theoretically easier teams to take. And, well, I guess we'll see how they decide to attack this BDS, obviously, actually Penta have opted for the attack first. They're not going to open on the defense on this border.
So Thermite gone from BDS. That's an intriguing one, because we've seen it before in the past. Sometimes as well, whenever we see a Thermite get banned, teams have also went ahead and banned Hibana. So that was also like a potential. I was thinking, there's no way we're going to see the double hard breach, because that makes things oh so easy for the defense. Capital ban, again, expected. He's one of the stronger operators that you can bring in the attack and clear off a lot of great positions that the defenders want to try and hunker down into, and also the smokes is always an added bonus. And there's the Jaeger ban. This is something that's actually on a bit of a rise, and on a map like Border, which revolves around being able to stop utility primarily, because there's not a whole lot of strat stuff that you have to kind of look at for Border. It's all about how clean you can safely push in, utilizing the gadgets and everything you have at your utility belt, and then get the kills.
That's it. So obviously Penta are trying to set themselves up to have a very strong attacking set. Now with the Jaeger off, they're going to try and utilize that as a bit of a surprise swing against BDS and nail as many of these attack rounds as they can. And well, they should be able to at least find a few more than they might have otherwise been able to. As you said, it takes them a bit by surprise. BDS will be looking at a Jaegerless defense. They'll be concerned about the possibility of these kind of smoke and flash charges now, which can be susceptible on certain points. And in fact, they're going to opt for a first floor hold in the opening of this. Take Customs as their go-to opener. Clashes on the board currently, might get 6 pick off, but then obviously you've also still got a lot of being able to stop any smoke pushes there.
I know the way that we're looking at it, saying, oh yeah, you ban the Jaeger, it gives yourself a nice half on the attack, you get to utilize all of the gadgets that would otherwise be stopped by the ADSs. Perhaps it's a target ban to stop Shaiko specifically. That's his main operator. We've seen that before in the past, that teams used to do that against Empire to specifically nerf joystick. In the end, it didn't really help them anyway, because the man's a cyborg, but, you know, Shaiko, he is that main guy. He is the probably top 3 right now, I would say, in EU in terms of raw mechanical skill.
Yeah, he's definitely obviously up there, and it's going to be really exciting to see. It's the thing about this, and we kind of talked about it a little bit last night when we saw Obey play, and we're saying, well, this is for the first time they're a Pro League team, technically battling another Pro League team in Evil Geniuses. They weren't full strength, they're missing a player, but it was a really, really good set of matches to close off last night. And at the same time, you kind of look at BDS and you go, well, technically for the first time, you know, in a very long time, as a set, they are a Pro League team. They obviously have players that have been in that historically, but they're, you know, the BDS is the Pro League team. However, with the habit that EU has, they've already found themselves on big stages, battling against Pro League teams. So I guess now it's just seeing how much they kind of heat up and how much they can keep learning, keep kind of getting ground and keep kind of burning that kind of fuel and seeing where they end up. The big change here is obviously the 2-6 pick. Hungry has opted for the Ying, as we said, with a Jaeger off the board. Ying, who is otherwise never really seen too often, has a bit more feasibility.
So it will be a customs hold straight off the rip for BDS. So going to go for their tertiary bomb site typically. Bathroom and Tellers is also there, but it's very risky, but we know that BDS can play that bomb site if they want to.
Yeah, it's one or the other, really, isn't it?
It is. It's never a good option, you know, but either way, they're going to go for it and see if they can try and catch Penta by surprise. And Hungry, he's on his old faithful, the Ying. This is one of his staple operators. He still holds the record for the fastest ace that we've ever seen before, and it was on this specific map. 6 seconds it took him to push in and get all 5 kills. Let's see if he can recreate some magic for his team. But still for Penta, just probing the bomb site, trying to see if they can find any openings. And really for BDS, they're relying heavily on the man playing inside of Armory to keep everybody covered, making sure nobody walks down in towards the balcony. And Penta just taking their time, making sure that they have the angles being held, the crossfires being established, and they're going to try and push out the main people inside of security, that primarily being Shaiko and Rafael.
Well, Renshiro gets the open, but Blass is there to return the favor. Taking himself down to 25 health as Hungry finds Shaiko in the meantime, and they start being able to collapse. Enemy gets another, and this is all CC control falling in their favor at this point as the castle falls down a floor, and it is now just RX versus the world. Yes, some damage has been done to the shoulders and shins of Penta, but otherwise they've managed to push themselves through what is, as you said, the tertiary bomb point. The drones are coming, the information's there. It's only really a matter of time before Penta open up this with the first round win.
Okay, so Penta having a good start so far. Looking at their collapse, it was just very simple, but it worked a charm for them. You know, they had everybody set up in the correct positions, they had the crossfires established, the refrags were there, and BDS just kind of collapsed. They didn't have any refrags being established. Nobody was able to get anything on the board. I kind of feel as if it is because of the Valkyrie didn't apply that much pressure in towards the armory. The whole point of you playing there is to make sure you let the enemy team know, saying, don't come here or else you will die.
Yeah.
You need to apply more pressure than that.
Yeah, there was no real response. All that kind of balcony it was free ground for them to take over, and when they found themselves being able to set up these angles, set up these kind of ability to pinch players and pincer their way through the top floor, it was kind of par for the course for Penta at that point. Doubling down on the Ying, 6th picking the Thatcher to the SAPPHIRE, which kind of shows the way that they want to play this game. They're looking for bodies, they're looking to try and pull apart the defense, and, well, in the previous round it worked very, very well. We're here now, and Bathroom Tellers, and, you know, we're still opting for these tertiary bomb points. So maybe BDS are hitting this with a bit of confidence that they hit their first game with, and I guess it's seeing if it can carry across a team that, yes, Penta have been on the back foot, but they are a historically good team.
Yeah, still that Pro League caliber. You know, we said that about BDS. Even though BDS were like a brand new team that was made, grinded their way in through CL quals, made their way in through CL, every single one of these players in BDS, they've all been in Pro League before.
Yeah.
Every single one of them had Pro League experience prior to that. Similar to the way that we don't really consider Secret a Challenger League team because we know what they're capable of. BDS were also under that microscope.
Yeah, it's the thing about it as well, and it's why when you kind of make these comparisons in EU, because the EU scene has a habit of doing this. Its players never really go far. The teams often stick together, or if they don't, they'll still stay as a 3 or a 2 or whatever, and they'll kind of move around and keep themselves mobile and versatile. Obviously, slightly different story for one of the notable players on BDS in terms of how their journey transitioned across the past couple of years, but you know, you look at Renshiro, you look at how he used to be absolutely dominant up there with the old Millennium team.
Even Raphael.
Yeah, and it's the kind of it's that angle of it is, yes, they've grinded their way up, but you know, they've proven that they can hold their own here, and it's seeing if they've still got that capabilities 2 years on.
I remember whenever Raphael got picked up for DreamHack Montreal, at the time I was looking at it and saying, is that really the best choice for that team? Is he a guy who previously was on Vitality roster? I don't really know if that was going to be the great pick, but Raphael has really impressed me, especially that last half of the Challenger League. See him as an anchor, I thought he was a real rock for that team. The clutches he was pulling out seemed to be the great pickup for them, and I think if he can get in that right mindset of being able just to frag out of his skull, he's a really helpful partner to Shaiko as well, isn't he?
Oh yeah, they can kind of double down, double up, and double their way across pretty much most teams. In the meantime, Revan doesn't find himself the opening death. In fact, gets the bit of revenge as he takes care of Panics and accidentally blast cuts the ankles off the Ash as they rotate around and try and find someone through Fountain, but no dice, as enemy's going to find the ground around the Canadian wall get tighter and tighter. It's actually going to aggressively swing into it, and RX is going to find Hungry. Revan might not know, but the man actually rotates down into Tellers there, obviously trying to get as much vertical here as possible because this is a top-heavy point.
And BDS are happy enough now to let them have control of Office. They've got 2 kills for it. The roam game has still worked, and there is still one more player inside of Archives, and Shaiko very close, and this is the partnership that we're kind of expecting. And Penta now, they're just lost. They don't know where to go from here. They've lost Hungry, was their main way of actually pushing and trying to pressure in towards the attackers, and now Penta, they've just scattered. All 3 of them are separated from one another. This is not going to bode well for them, especially whenever BDS, they are doubling up. They're having those partnerships, one thing that Penta is severely lacking right now.
Well, it looks like they're coming up with their plan B, and with 40 seconds, they've kind of got to make it work. Trying to hold the flatter angles now that they've got the vertical safety from above, but there's always the worry and the possibility of the collapse. You can see all 4 members of BDS are only just off to a side and ready and able to pop back in, and with those long angles potentially being held via those central stairs, it only takes a swing and a little bit of panache to be able to take out the planter if they attempt it. With 15 seconds on, they're digging in behind the vending machine, but surely at some point there'll be the information. The impacts actually pop off, but doesn't quite hit Janix, who does get themselves in a post plant, and all the spots are coming out. They find one, but the trade comes in as they bury across, and Shaiko with the double gets splashed, and Janix and another one jumps out of the window. There is the Claymore, but RX is there to pick up the pieces, and BDS bring it back to 1-1.
Oh, Shaiko just saying, hold on, guys, I've got this. Hold my beer, I think is how that goes, isn't it? Oh, yeah. And yeah, just Shaiko doing what he does best, and that is killing anything in his path. Destroyer of hopes and dreams. I forget what it is in French. Le Destroyer, something. That's all I got from, I think that's it.
Yeah, there was
it's
a
just
French
Le
translation.
Destroyer, that's it.
Yeah.
French community, what is it again? I forget. What is the Destroyer of Hopes and Dreams in French? Let us know, because that is basically Shaiko. One thing about BDS is that they managed to retake that with no info whatsoever. They are not bringing a single information operator. Maestro was available, Echo was available, Valkyrie was available. Not a single one of those chosen. And I'm really surprised that they still managed to pull away with that, because whenever you see so much information being sat there, it's very rare that we see Echo, Maestro, and Valkyrie all available in the one map. This is one of those common occurrences that never really do we get to see. And, you know, it's different whenever you kind of scrim and you have your set bans and you're used to practicing without, like, an Echo or a Maestro. But whenever it is available, it's kind of like the Mira situation, where even though Mira's available, teams won't still bring them, because they've practiced enough of the main 5 that they've used, expecting the bans.
That's the thing.
It's really weird.
They baited off the Echo this time. They bought the Echo and swapped it off to the Mozzie to try and get RX on some more kind of portable information. Obviously, Valkyrie is exceptional on this, depending on especially how you want to play. Because you think of, obviously, if you'd have had a Valkyrie in that previous point, how much information that would have given on that late push.
Do you know what's even more surprising? What? Even though Echo and Valkyrie are available for Border, Penta still don't bring an IQ. That's a big risk. Or perhaps they know that BDS, they're not going to bring it anyway.
I mean, I guess it's all down to how much they've, counter-strateged, or how much they've kind of worked out. Because obviously one of the things that when you look at a Jaeger being taken off, it's a particular decision. And it's one of two particulars. It's either you've got a strategy, which can be around Hungary and this Ying, and can be around your entry system via there and finding your close angles, or it can be, as you said, it might be a target ban. It might be trying to pull it out of their defense. And it's the balance of, well, that's the trade-off. It's that knowledge on their defense so much that you know they're not going to be bringing this Valkyrie, and you can kind of trust this idea of no IQ.
Well, you look at the lineup from Penta, every single one of those operators do a lot better without a Jaeger. You know, you look at Sophia, the concussions and the impacts don't get up by ADSs. Ying, Candel's an obvious one, even Ash breaching rounds and the flashbang she gets. Nades from Blast is also a pretty obvious one. Whenever Jaeger's banned, nades start to appear a lot more. And even Enemy, still he has flashbangs that he can utilize as well, not having to worry about an ADS. So all of those operators do excel without having the Jaeger ban gone away. So it does make sense that they're bringing a lot of utility. BDS, just straight away gone. Shaiko being droned out as the Vigil, and that's an easy upside down repel. And a strange position that he was actually playing inside of Office by himself, even though the rest of his team is geared up for a security and armory hold. But hey, that's the way Shaiko plays. He's always looking for that first opening challenge, that first opening engagement. You know, the man is off the chain whenever it comes to opening kills. He's always that main man for BDS. Just doesn't work out for him this time around, and this does give Penta the upper edge. Let's just hope Penta don't crumble, because they are known to do that whenever they do have the lead. They just kind of break down, and we don't really know where they go from there.
Well, it's all a matter of a stalemate now as we see them creeping up the central stairs to try and battle back against Janix, who has otherwise made his way steadily across the officer's side towards the, well, as close to Armory as they can. In the meantime, they're doubling down below, but the bodies inside detention might be the ones that start to apply some pressure back towards them, as Panix does find Revan on the top floor, and that's the Ash out of the equation, but they obviously still have a huge amount of utility for this push. The Ying is the one that they kind of seem to have a habit of wanting to lead with, and it's fair play, as you said. Enemy Hungry even as an exceptional Ying player. Now, as they creep their way back through Tellers, they're going to try and take this via the castle wall and bathroom and get a little bit more of a flat push, because they do still have Janix upstairs. They have the ability to push in underneath Archives and try and get the diffuser down in there. And if they keep dropping bodies inside, it's just going to become an easier and easier trade, because it'll force RX towards them and Renshiro to try and find the firefight.
This time they do have information, though. They have the Maestro cameras, I'm guessing, set up to try and help them with the A push. Oh, but they're starting to get eaten alive on sight due to the open hatch. Janix now drops in for what reason? I will never know. Perhaps being a little bit too carried away with the time that's available. And Rafael again, that hard smoke on Anchor has managed to stop it. And BDS, they win down to time. Penta, how have you let that happen then, huh?
Yeah, they obviously had a bit of control upstairs, but not enough to feel fully confident. And, you know, they tried to then take across the bottom, as we saw and said, via Tellers and via the bathroom, just to get themselves in another kind of pocket and go for the plant, but without doing at least a little bit more solid work across either the top or across the detention side or across that kind of corner of the map that was otherwise just uncontested. it's just a risk when all of that stuff kind of comes. And yeah, the diffuser, the kind of time is going down to get the diffuser down, but you've got to have a little bit more of a first step before you try the second.
I didn't want to say it at the time, but whenever I seen Penta around like the minute 15 mark, they started rotating down in towards waiting room and looking to pressure towards like the teller side and try and move on to A. I was really questioning it because they got the first opening pick on the top floor roamer. Why wouldn't they just try and carry on and try and take upstairs? We seen people in security, both of them, both dropped. As soon as Shaiko was gone, they both dropped. There's one guy in armor who again also then dropped eventually, but not straight away. What I don't get is why they didn't just execute onto the armory, and then you have that vertical to play with. You're bringing a sledge, the B bomb site, the B bomb site on vents is the easiest one to take. All you do is you sledge above the connector, you move in, and you plant at the B window. It is so simple and so easy, and I don't get why they made it hard for themselves.
Yeah, they kind of just said it looked like they had the makings of a strong strategy across the top. As you said, they got the opening frag, and then they just kind of set up a body to watch for a rotate, and then hold the angle, see if they can force BDS back into them. But without the solidity that you kind of need, they're still able to find these long firefights and these long angles that mean you'll never really be comfortable down below. Setting themselves up with a little bit more pace to start to push their way towards Armory. We finally found our way back to what is normally the opener of these kind of holds. And BDS have set themselves up in a 2-1 position here with the possibility of, well, if they lose here, they've got customs back on the board and then bathroom. In the meantime, enemy is going to take Shaiko out of the equation for the first time. The second time is the first death in the round over the past 2 rounds in a row, and this is a lot of immediate pressure they're putting in as well. Great quick CC control here and great quick ability to get underneath as well. You can see Yannick's on the far side using the Sapphires to apply some underground pressure with Hungry doubling down underneath there, but it's what can you make of it at this point, Penta?
It's a bit strange that BDS in customs defense and also for their vents, they held security, but on Armory, which kind of makes the most sense to hold security, they don't do it. So they're playing a lot more relaxed, a lot more passive on site, probably because they are bringing in big anchors, like the Maestro and the Echo combo that we know is so potent for many, many teams, and even the Doc there as well. Free heavies. Don't see it all too often, but that's probably just because Echo is through the ban phase, and he generally is banned, but that Jaeger one, I think, is specifically there just to nerf Shaiko in my eyes, and, well, it's worked for them. You know, Shaiko, he hasn't had a kill in 2 rounds. That's unlike him.
Yeah, he's been shut off really, really effectively by the sides of Penta, but we're kind of hitting around this minute 10 mark where last time things started to fall and stumble for Penta, so they've got to find a way to execute this with a little bit more clarity than they had before. They've obviously started to apply pressure onto Sandwich Window, and you can see Blast is waiting for the Echo drone he saw drift by to hit the roof so they can take care of it, and they're trying to open their way through into the small box to be able to apply even more pressure on the bodies holding just behind. Hungry is starting to Candela his way across, but is still concerned about the jump out, so the smoke is actually what's going to cancel it off as the push comes in hot and hard from Penta. Enemy is watching a big rotate around the back as the Echo drone hits Yannick's, and this is going to be the doubled aggression, and there is the smoke canisters to be able to stop that diffuser cold, and it's actually the Maestro camera doubled up with the smoke gun, and then another one for the smoke gun that finds more and more bodies. We're in a 4-2 with 30 seconds on the board. Enemy has to find his way closer to the point, and it's actually going to be Blast, an enemy that both suffer from a Rafale that is refusing to back down from these firefights, and there is another round with Rafale finding his 4th for the round.
Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't understand what Penta are doing one bit. They're trying to execute onto the site with still a minute to go, even though there is Echo drones, which they know that there was because we've seen one go past the sledge. There's Maestro cameras, you have Sophia, you have nades from Sledge, you have Ash. There's no ADSs to worry about. Why are those not getting rid of? Makes no sense whatsoever. They're just trying to force their way in, and that just shows the prowess of the utility that can be brought by the defense. You cannot push in with all of those things still up. Absolutely no sense whatsoever. And if Penta lose this game, it's down to themselves, not down to how BDS are playing, because BDS, they haven't really been bothered by anything. They're allowing BDS to play the way they want to, and Penta, they're just throwing it themselves away. Simple stuff, and they're failing on it. No sense.
Yeah, it's a lot of, because they're aware, as you said, they know what they're kind of hitting into, they know what they're hitting against. We're seeing Candelas going off, and it's just countered by one smoke. That one smoke canister can go, well, no, you can't enter just yet. And that's 2 Candelas thrown at that one smoke.
Like, that's just no sense whatsoever. And like, the thing about BDS as well with their lineup, there's no C4s. You know, how do you have to worry about C4s? You don't have to worry about that. If that's something that they were kind of concerned about, saying, oh, but if we leave it too late, then we could get exploded from beneath. No, there is none. You've killed Shaiko, you killed the bandit, the only guy with a C4. It's just, it's not fun, Fluke.
It's not
just,
fun
I'm really
for
triggered,
Penta,
man. I'm really triggered.
I can kind of get that energy. It's
yeah.
Like, it's like you're going Super Saiyan.
So I'm just the embodiment of Twitch chat right now, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, the stuff that isn't probably in French. Setting themselves up for a customs. This was the one round that Penta were able to take previously, and you know, they kind of pulled apart BDS in what was very complimentary play. They were able to kind of lock down and pincer all of the bodies of the French team that were otherwise caught a bit unaware. Shaiko, however, was waiting for that. We could see him upstairs holding onto the window, and well, he gets a little bit of revenge for the previous round and drops enemy instead of being dropped by enemy, and for the first time in a couple, he's allowed to at least play a little bit. Revan falls as well, as RX finds another, and they're still putting pressure on Blaz, who is just going to pull away from that and start to rotate round to the eastern stairs.
So, Penta, this is quite possibly the worst start that you wanted to have. The one time where you bring the IQ, fearing the Echo drones, gets popped straight away. That's a sticky one. So, Penta, now you're left with 3 players. Don't have any hard breach, so you can't open up in towards detention. You are stuck with literally jumping into the bomb site, and, well, whenever there is still Echo drones on the table, you have the smoke, and honestly, I don't even think Penta is going to get the chance to get in the building, because BDS are just trying to kill them. That's all they're trying to go for. Nothing else.
Yeah, BDS have kind of lit up these past couple rounds, and we saw it from the aggression of the smoke of RX in the previous.
This is not going to work well.
It looks like they're going for some quick aggression here. They find Panics, and they almost find the second, but it's through the floor. The Echo drone pops off. The smoke canisters Renshiro with a big gun he knows how to use, and Blas is kind of just well, he's a little bit of a fish in a barrel there, and they find themselves to the 4-1 split here as we careen closer to a half-time that's looking worrisome for Penta.
Apart from that first round where Penta actually looked in good shape with the crossfires and the refrag potential that they had, every other round they have just played by themselves, single by single by single. They are so separated, nobody is ever going to be able to try and get something back the way they're playing. They're just rushing in, they're trying to get in the right positions, but they're just being picked off straight away by BDS. I don't get it. You're playing against BDS. You should know that on a map like Border, Shaiko is known for going for runouts. He's known for that playstyle. Why are you not setting up to try and counter that?
Well, Vent is where we're going to swing to. They're not going to try the bathroom point, even though it is open. They're going to opt for something a little bit more, I'll say, standard and familiar. Thatcher's on the board from the hands of Yannick. They're going to go, you can see them. This is something that we've kind of commented before, obviously missing the IQ when you're up against this, and Thatcher being brought on the board, and you know, these kind of changes that I guess in a way we begged for as time went on. We're actually just going to hit a rehost on that as we jump back in to the studio, but with the turn of the half and a kind of desperate grasp and a need for momentum. Penta, what do you do?
I'm really lost for words the way that Penta have been playing. I didn't expect this one bit. I thought they were actually going to give BDS a bit of a go, a bit of a revenge, potentially. But if you're saying, yeah, we got knocked out for CL, let's just go at it. But no, BDS just, I want to say expected. For me personally, I pitched BDS to take this a clean 2-0, even before the maps even came up. The fact that Border was locked in straight away by BDS kind of confirmed that, yes, they're just trying to get this over and done with. Again, we know they have nothing to play for. You know, Pro League hasn't started.
Yeah, the only worry that they have, and the only reason why they might be hiding stuff, is because they're very confident in taking this match. They've seen the form that Penta's in. They know the form that they're in, and they've seen what their compatriots Forza do big damage to Penta, who they obviously ousted during the CL run. And then they're looking at their next game, which is G2. And a G2 versus BDS game, that's a heated experience for everybody involved.
You don't say.
That's a little bit of a hot potato.
Yep.
So they are going to want to they're going, right, well, you know, Penta, whatever, we'll play through them, and so far it's working effectively. We're seeing BDS be a little bit looser, as you said. Shaiko's in these positions that, yes, he does go for these peaks, but normally it's with the cover, with the double up. There was the time he was in offices by himself. There was other times where he's kind of being taken out very early, but then they're probably in their heads going, well, you know, G2's next. And you know, that's, for them, it's G2.
It is. That's, I think, was kind of set in stone whenever we seen the bracket. Everybody was saying, oh yes, BDS G2 rematch, which the way that BDS are playing today definitely has to be that match now for the semis. There's no way around it. I don't think anybody can really tell how that match will play out, G2 versus BDS, because we've seen it at Montreal, which was really unexpected. Like, we did not kind of see BDS come out straight away against G2, knock them out. G2 didn't even get quarterfinals. You know, when was the last time we seen that happen? Oh, it never did. Yeah. Again, G2, a lot of weird things that kind of happened this year for them. The first time that they didn't qualify for a Pro League Finals, the fact that they didn't qualify for Invitational. This is the first time they have to play in an actual qualifier online for the first time since 2017 Invitational. A lot of new things for G2.
It's the thing about the kind of, and we've said that one of the things about the team is they had this habitual method where, yes, they were the kind of undisputed kings. There was no way to really topple them. They were fantastic time and time and time and time again. And then other teams started to meet them. Other teams started to pull themselves to them. And you kind of, back in the day when G2 were the top dogs, they kept on still reinventing themselves. And they got a little bit comfortable with it. They got a little bit kind of, not cocky, but, you know, they had earned the confidence.
Yes.
And it was down to the rest of the world to answer, and they did.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think G2 have always said, is that they want to have a bit of competition. Because for a long time, it was just the one team dominating. But you'll see that in any new esport that comes in, there will always start off with one team dominating. That's the way it always goes. And it takes a while for everybody else to kind of catch up, and we actually get a great competitive scene. We've now hit that stage. We're at a stage where it's not one team dominating. It's not like, yes, G2 were dominating, then we had Empire. But even Empire, they didn't live that long in terms of dominating. Then we look at Japan, a new Pro League champion. Will that then be the new dominating team? It's just the way it carries on. And that's what I think we need for our esports scene, is for, you know, these upsets, these matches that we want to see time and time again, saying, oh, last time it happened. And then you look back and you say, oh, but they had this time, they had it that time. It's just the way it keeps growing. And I think whenever we see more tournaments where we get to see these matchups, it will just add a lot more flavor into the entire competitive scene.
Yeah, it's the kind of breakdown of it, really. And it's one of the things where if you look at the whole world as well, obviously there's always a light shone on EU because EU wins everything.
Yep.
Pretty much everything.
Just say it, bro. Just say it. Don't just go for it. Have confidence. By the way, whenever you say the EU are the best, you're right. You're right. Don't worry. If anybody else thinks their opinion, it's a wrong opinion, so don't worry.
But the rest of the world is improving. The rest of the world is kind of pulling them. And it's more obvious in more isolated scenarios. So you look at, obviously, the history of APAC. And, you know, for the longest time, they never really had a showing. And then they started to have two teams, started to come to all of them, and Fnatic and Noringo. And now those two teams, if you've been paying attention to the APAC scene, they're starting to get beat. Not because they're getting worse, but because the rest of the region is getting better. Arrowwolf is pulling themselves through and being able to, you know, pull big results, and they're going to be a huge team to watch. And we'll jump back into the game, and we'll wax lyrical about other regions later. But in the meantime, yeah, it's the kind of sign of it. And BDS, moral of the story, BDS are one of these teams that they have the possibility and the kind of energy to pull these firefights against G2. So matches like the one that might be next are going to be big tells for how the season might go for them.
So hopping back in, this is the last round for BDS on their defensive half, and then we will see the switch. And then for BDS, they get to have a go attacking, we'll have to worry about ADSs, which will that do well for Penta? Probably not. So it's a little bit of a back and forth look, isn't it? It's, you know, we ban this operator to try and get a better half, but then now you have to play against it.
Well, that's the thing. And in my head, I'm trying to think of, well, is that going to change anything on a standard BDS push? Because what they do is very clinical. They're very, very good at kind of doubling up, holding angles, and just kind of picking a defense apart with a lot of aggression. And that's generally something that they're very good at habitually. Whether they swing themselves in with more aggression than they normally would because the Jaeger's off the board, whether they double down on things like frag grenades, or they find themselves, you know, I'd be surprised if they brought a Ying, if I'm honest. As you said, sometimes when Mirror's on the board, teams don't even bring them because they're not, you know, it's a bit of a big change of how you want to play. And if you suddenly go, well, let's just lead with a Ying, and you're not used to it and expecting it, it can kind of pull the rest of your 4 operators a little bit out of whack, and it's not the greatest trade-off. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what, if anything, BDS actually adapt or change. In the meantime, a bit of a pacey push here coming against these eastern stairs, as they're concerned about the run-out and concerned about any of this BDS aggression, but if Penta want a bit of a hope of pulling this round, this map in, they're going to have to try and find this round.
Penta actually taking on an east side take rather than the upfront confrontation of going straight in for security. And I'm curious to why they would go for this push again, because this just ended miserably the last time, and this is kind of where my mental breakdown started to take place. They will utilize the lack of Jaeger, of course, since it is banned, and try and to stop the bandit trick from Shaiko, and the wall will be opened up via the X-Kairos pellets. So this gives them their way in towards office, and they are definitely going to try and gear up. And what's Shaiko doing? Shaiko is running around the main corridor and hasn't been killed. He's just dropped down. How's he got away with this?
Well, he's done more than get away with it. The Echo drone as well drove in and swung underneath. They couldn't quite find the Nitro Cell. I think that was his original plan, was get underneath, Nitro Cell over the top and find a body. Hungry, who was playing around in Tellers, is able to actually pick off the trade. And we saw during all of that confrontation, Hungry was actually steadily making his way in. So if he'd been a little bit pacier, or they'd had a bit more information about Shaiko, they might have been able to find the body. But there's still one down towards the Tension and Passport side. There's still one left underneath, and what I'm hoping for is, as we kind of cried for and called for previously, Penta take more of this top floor.
Bomb located by attackers.
A lot of time though being wasted by Penta. A minute to go, and they haven't really made any headway to actually being geared up to go for the plant. There's still a lot of people from BDS lurking around in the entire west side of the map. You have a guy on site still, you have a man inside of customs, 2 upstairs. So again, that doubling up factor that you kind of talked about, that's the BDS playstyle, it's working again. The fact that the pick that Shaiko got us on IQ is also important when these Echo drones are still up.
Well, the Candelas go over the top, and Panix is actually going to push aggressively past them. Rafal finds Yannick's in the meantime, but they're trying to get the diffuser down and spraying bullets over the top. Hungry looks for one, but suffers as the plant goes down, but there is a clean pull back from BDS, and now they just have to get this diffuser to put themselves on a 5-1 split before they head into an attack against a Jaegerless defense.
It's just, I don't know anymore, man. Penta clearly don't know how to do the basics of executing on sites. They are just trying to rush it. Like, you have a lot of time still left over. You have a good 40 seconds. Why not take the time to actually get yourself in a better position? You didn't even clear the man upstairs. You didn't even clear Rafael, and he has that hatch right above your planters.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, it's one of those things that I kind of really wanted them to do. So if you look at what they have kind of utility-wise, we're seeing little bits spent to do particular jobs. We saw the Habana pellets doubled up with some frag grenades to be able to drop the shield on 90 and then try and push anyone that might be bandit tricking away. That's a, you know, it's a fair use of utility there, and it can kind of work. But then, as we said, that's when that push stopped. They didn't clear across. Maybe use one of those Ying charges, those Candelas upstairs. Utilize that to push into the room. Don't just, you know, throw them all as much as you can deep into point and then try and hurry a plant behind it. Use it upstairs, clear some of that ground, and then you have the top floor to be able to apply the pressure that the Candela would otherwise have been able to do. You would have forced them out of that position, forced them away from there, and been able to do it in a more deadly and precise fashion than just kind of, you know, long balling up some Candelas and hoping that they hit their mark.
So even though Jaeger is off the table, BDS not bringing a lineup that would really use and abuse. It's fairly standard from them. They're a big fan of Nomad, having the man who just sits on the sandwich window. He can, of course, cover his jump outs. Primarily 2 jump outs would kind of come to mind while playing that window. One of them would be from below, inside of ventilation, and the other one would be in the main ventilation unit over beside Archives window jump out. And you can simply Nomad them, and you can sit in that window all day long, and it just cuts off everything whenever the defenders try and retake in towards Armory, which is what I'm guessing BDS are going to gear up towards.
Yeah, it was one of those questions as well as, well, what are BDS going to change with a Jaeger ban? And they don't really need to change anything based on how they play, based on how they like to take this map and take their kind of aggressive swings. They're more than happy to just treat this as firefights, as their way of getting control and getting themselves in the building, which is, in a way, it's you know, it's sometimes seen as the opposite of how Penta were doing it, where they were trusting their utility a lot to get these kind of pushes. BDS trust the man, they trust the body, and they trust the ability to set up these crossfires. And, well, let's see how much of that kind of runs through as they start to try and take their way across CC. Shaiko already looking for the Maestro, sees his cap and finds more as he takes enemy out of the equation, and that is a big loss.
Subtract an enemy out of Shaiko. And, well, for BDS right now, they are just perfectly geared up and ready to go for their execution. They're taking time with it, and Shaiko's still on the hunt. And Blast just gives himself away. They think that they can sacrifice to Shaiko, and they'll let them win the round. That's not how it works. Shaiko doesn't care about anything you try and give him. He's going to get the breaching round charge kill off of that one. And it's just Penta. Yeah, just go home, Penta.
That's his second breaching round kill this tournament. He's got, and that's it. That's how they use it. And yes, Shaiko is out of this world in terms of being a frag player, but his ability to kind of just aggressively take ground with guns, which was what we saw Penta never do. They never shut down from those kind of angles successfully. They just couldn't quite find the ground. Now it's down to, well, one smoke canister and a couple of smoke guns, and then the dock to try and offer some support. But Shaiko's already looking for his way in via sandwich window and is baiting out the utility. Concerned, well, a little bit more about the man behind, as Hungry does find Panix, and Panix finds Rafal. Oh no, he was cooking a grenade, and it fell to his feet and martyrdomed Rafal out of the building. But with a minute on the board in a 2 versus 2, with all the smoke canisters gone, this could be a big swing, and Yannick has the cover and takes care of Shaiko. There's another one for Hungry, and Penta, well, being able to pull themselves back in from a 5-2, put themselves on a 5-2.
Yeah, what was BDS doing? They just basically did what Penta did on their attacking round, and that was push in 1 by 1 without having any real refrag available to them. They were set up for a 5-2, and then all of a sudden, it just ended as a 2-0. BDS had everything set up, ready to go. You had the wall open, you had the man on the window. Why didn't they just try and prioritize the plant? Why go for the kills?
Get better cost? Get better KD?
No, because when you get better cost by planting a diffuser, that's how that works.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it was a foolish errand, and they were trying to, as you said, go for the bodies, and they really just didn't have to. Because if you look at the control that they obviously had the man on sandwich window to be able to count anyone that got a little bit close. They had already used all of the smoke canisters as well, and with 40 seconds left and knowing that they have no smokes, you know, you're kind of in that situation going, well, we can hard put this plant down. We have the cover. In the meantime, they also had one body still around the 90 side and still around central stairs, so they could have counted anyone that tried to loop around the back. It was BDS kind of dropping the ball at the end of that round, and let's see if they can pick it up now as we find ourselves 5-2. And you got to give some credit to Hungry for being able to hold that, but in the meantime, as you said, they kind of just fed themselves to him.
If they were lurking somebody around that main stairs, perhaps fearing that there would be a C4 from below, right, well, first of all, that wouldn't really matter whenever Shaiko killed 3 C4 operators, so you're not really expecting any more to be brought. And even if there is a C4 comes out from beneath, you just pick up the diffuser and try and plant again. You have plenty of men to try and just swarm your way in and try and get the trade-off. So I don't get why that lone man was lurking. Makes no sense. Go with the team. Just push in, overwhelm them. You have the capacity to do so. But now for BDS, they have to attack the second bomb site now for Penta, and it will be the vents. Curious to see how BDS will try and take this one apart. More than likely, they will try and enter in from upstairs. That's why they bring the sledge, so they can utilize this off-destruction available. And yeah, Panix gets himself geared up, ready to try and take in towards the archives, and he's just been granted a nice little bit of luck there from the Siege Gods. And Yannick Fortunate for him, he's off the table.
Ah, that's one of those irritating deaths, isn't it? One of the ones where you just get caught by the spray through the wall, and here comes a bit more of a collapse across the admin office side. And this is one of the things that we kind of wanted Penta to do a little bit more. Get more control of this top floor. There's no punishment for having it, and there's such a big boon for being able to just open up across. You obviously have the sledge to be able to crack your way in, which was a consistent kind of pickup on the other side. You have the ability to not only kind of get bodies up here, sure, but it means you can start to push people down, make the floor below really uncomfortable, force them into positions where they can be dropped, and without the Jaeger, these frag grenades are going to be quick work of a hungry Panics. Finds himself the second on the round. There's only one more body up here, concerned about a jump out, and is, well, trying to bait it as much as he can, but there is nobody there just yet.
Yeah, he got that kill with a nade. It just leaves the single man alone upstairs, and well, Blast, he's in for a world of pain right now. I say that as Revan, he's been flashed inside a bathroom. They know where he is. An enemy is trying to give that cover. Blast is going for the absolute crazy play and somehow ends up winning that. Panics just sprints into him, but that doesn't matter. As BDS, they have then that opening to try and eliminate the remaining players towards the east side of the map, and they do find one, a second for them, and it's just down to Blast, a 1 versus 4. Sure, BDS may have thrown the last round to give Penta an opening in, but this one's a little bit different.
6-2, and look at what vertical control can do for you. A very, very good take there from BDS as they made their way across. Some brave attempts in the hands especially of Legion to be able to jump out and find one, even when he just kind of jumped out and stayed out for a while and kind of stuck the bravery and stuck the firefight and stuck the body in the ground. But we're now on map point 6-2. That is a big difference, not just in the round, but in terms of how aggressive and how well these teams have attacked this map. This is very much a BDS map so far.
So, it's not a matter of fact of how well Penta can play now, it's how well can BDS throw the game away.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer up to Penta, it's if BDS actually want to win the map. Which is strange to say, but if BDS just lock it out here and now, they just get their heads together, they play the way we normally see them do, and that is coordinated, synergized as a team. BDS in the opening stages of the game are so deadly on the attack. Always they have the upper edge going into kind of the room fights, where they have everybody situated in different crossfire positions. You know, we've seen the pressure from the window that Panics was adding onto it for the upstairs clear, just gives that little bit more pressure that allows then the other fraggers pushing in from like the main office side to relax a little bit more. Don't have to be on edge the whole time, and that's a clear difference that Penta did not do. Penta just tried to, all of them forced their way in for one side. None of them were really spread out enough.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you know, it's one of those situations where this is what we talked about when we say that they're coordinated in their collapses, coordinated in their use of bodies and how their system of cover kind of works across BDSs, because it translates well to any situation where you need to throw them, because they're so used to playing in these pairs system and doubling themselves down. And you know, it's how do you pull yourselves apart from that, because they have another body, but they're also exceptional fraggers.
Okay, BDS, how will you gear up for another event? More than likely, they will pressure in towards the east once more. Whenever Panics is kind of lone spawned by himself towards the west side of the map, does lead us to believe that he's going to try and get on that window rappel once more. And RX also pressuring in from Armory. But Penta, they are just gearing up, ready, I think, for both sides. They have some reinforcements towards the west and also some reinforcements towards the east, and one man on either side. I like that shield, though. That shield is kind of playing like a mini mirror window to give a bit of cover and gives you, I think, that visual information more than anything.
Yeah, it kind of allows you to, you know, be aggressive on the door, be aggressive on that kind of position and be able to put something back against BDS. And, well, there's the first one and the second grenade kill in a row for Panics, and then he just keeps the tally going as he clears his way across this top floor, and that is another room that has fallen as RX and Shaiko double down and try to collapse across the opposite sides. They have the sightlines that they need, and they have the complete verticality that they want. And now it's just a matter of getting the plant that they can, well, use to win the game. Enemy at least finds Rafale, puts a bit of blood back in their way, but, you know, they're not out of the woods yet.
Penta, again, even on their defense, they are so far split from each other. They have no way of winning these gunfights by themselves. They need to try and work as a team, and they're not doing that. Just not doing that whatsoever. And all it takes is one drone and 2 people from BDS to double up, and they get the refrags, they get the trades, and then from Penta, again, it's just another miserable time for them. BDS taking a bit of time, though. They are just droning their way in, trying to figure out where is the weakest option for them to try and push in towards, and more likely it will be from the A side. The fact that there's still that man inside of supply room, they can't really push that way as hard as what they would want to. And Enemy, well, he's gone out of there quick because he did get pressured by drones and flashbangs, and now takes himself up in a position towards that main corridor.
Well, there's another body taken on the sides of BDS. Panics puts one more in the dirt, and with 30 seconds left, you can see BDS pretty briskly making their way to the diffuser to then make their way to the point to get the plant off. Yannick's is trying to hold down in the back of server, but he can't quite make it work as BDS put themselves only 1 kill away from taking this first map. Revan has everything to do here, and unfortunately can't make any of it hit the board as the first map of Border. And it was BDS's map, to be fair, swings very much in their favor.
As easy as you like for BDS, nice and clean, 7-2. Apart from that one round that was really shaky from BDS that they kind of threw away. Overall, that puts them in the driving seat for the next map, which is going to come up right after the break.
Predict the outcome, win the game. Get live coverage and schedules for your favorite tournaments. Analyze, predict, and vote to gain points. Compete with other esports fans and climb the leaderboards. Strafe, everything esports. Download now on iOS and Android.